and welcome to another Why Toastmasters event. I am Terry Ann Porter, hashtag Life Coach TA. You've heard me talk about this Toastmasters thing for several years now. And so I've asked several of my Toastmasters friends to come in and share with us why Toastmasters so that you can get more information than from just me. My guest today is Kirra Antrobus. And Kirra, I am so excited. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, let's get started now. I've met you. I don't know if I've met you in person. I think just I've seen you through the virtual. Thank goodness for virtual. But through Toastmasters in several events together. Let's get started with, tell me something, like how long have you been in Toastmasters?
I joined Toastmasters in June of 2020, which is either a fantastic time or a terrible time to start something new. For me, it was a fantastic time, and almost 4 years later, I've loved every minute.
That was a hard time to join, but also a really good time for some people because it took away that fear of having to go into some place. Oh, I've got to go into this building and into this room with these people. Zoom really was taking off at that point, and we were able to do a lot of virtual meetings. Well, what led you in June of 2020, with the world basically shut down, what led you to even try it?
I'd known about Toastmasters for a while. I really don't remember how I learned about it, but I'd been interested, but I'd never pulled the trigger. Then in May of 2020, I had a work presentation. Actually, that's wrong. March of 2020, I had a work presentation coming up, and I was terrified. I just wished that the ground would open and swallow me up so I wouldn't have to do this presentation. Well, it was scheduled in the first week of the shutdowns. And so the presentation was canceled and I didn't have to do it. But I knew that it was going to come around the next year. And I just did not want to be that scared of anything ever again. And so I knew it was time to try Toastmasters. It still took me, 3 months to find my way to the club. But that was why I did it. I needed to give a presentation and I was so scared and I just didn't want to be held back by that ever again.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. That was 4 years ago. First of all, did you give that presentation eventually?
Yes, I did it the next March and it went so well. I felt confident. I felt good about it. I got compliments. Like it went as well as it possibly could have, all because of Toastmasters.
Oh, well, that is great. Okay, well, it's been 4 years. You found out you can give that presentation. Why? Why are you still in Toastmasters?
I learned something new every time in Toastmasters, whether it's learning from the content of someone else's presentation or being able to continue developing my own skills. I still have a long way to go as a presenter, but I'm also learning how to do project management. I'm learning how to lead meetings. I'm learning how to use the technology that we now are faced with in this post-pandemic world. I'm always learning some new skill or some new interesting fact in Toastmasters.
Wow. Now, there is one feature of Toastmasters that intimidates a lot of people, and that is table topics. Explain now, for those who don't know, I'll go ahead and tell you. Table topics is you're given a question, a statement, a scenario. You have 1 to 2 minutes to speak on it. It's extemporaneous speaking is what it is. And I know a lot of people say, oh, but I don't do that. But think of how many times maybe you're in an elevator and in walks the boss. Oh, I can't speak, it's just so intimidating there. Or just even general chit chat at a gathering. So I really enjoy table topics. What do you think of table topics?
It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but when we get faced with those situations in real life, it's uncomfortable. And taking the time to practice in a safe space with fun questions that don't really have any long-term consequences helps us to be able to handle those when we're in a discussion with the boss. All of a sudden, I was faced with that this afternoon. I passed by his office and he said, "I have a question for you." And I wouldn't say that I'm fantastic at table topics, and I wouldn't say I handle those real life questions well every time, but I know that Toastmasters is helping me build that skill just because of that repetitive over and over again. Answer this weird question, answer this question you've never heard before. And it's been a significant benefit for me, even though it's uncomfortable.
I think that's a fun learning part. Now, you mentioned that you learned to lead meetings. What do you mean by that?
In a Toastmasters meeting, we have multiple roles that we hold, including someone who builds the agenda and someone who essentially MCs the meeting, makes sure it goes on time and introduces the various speakers. Leading a meeting is a skill. Being able to manage the other people in the meeting is a significant skill that a lot of people don't have, but it's important in the workplace. If you can handle a meeting, you'll stand out among those people that can't guide the direction of a meeting.
So this becomes very valuable in business relations, volunteer situations. What are some other ways that Toastmasters has helped you either personally or professionally to develop?
It's just made me more confident in general. I know that I can get up and give a speech. I know that I have things that are worthwhile to say. Specifically, I have participated in choirs from junior high all the way through college, and I love to sing. And a few times when I was young, I had opportunities to do solos, and they didn't go well because I was scared. I was stage fright, scared of the audience. And a few years ago, after I started Toastmasters, my church choir, I was asked to do a solo. And the only reason I felt like there was any chance I could handle it was because of Toastmasters. Speaking and singing are kind of the same. I mean, it takes a little bit of a different skill set, but that confidence that you need to stand up and put it out there comes from the same place.
Absolutely. I love that. And that kind of reminds me where Toastmasters offers you that opportunity to practice and to fail. You know, when you sing, you sing. I thought of that because you had made the comment about singing and scared and, and all. And I think we give our speeches. I heard a great phrase, no one's ever been fired for a bad speech at Toastmasters. When something doesn't go right with your speech, your presentation, how does your Toastmasters Club react?
They're all so supportive. We know that everybody has to start somewhere. And if there's a mistake, we give them time in the moment to recover and continue on from that mistake. If for some reason that recovery can't happen, we encourage them to try again the next week or, a few weeks later. The main thing is we just don't want people to get discouraged. There's so much learning and there's so much growth available that I would just hate for somebody to quit that just because they have one failure. And it's a little, I mean, it's a little embarrassing. Nobody likes to fail. But like you
Right.
said, you don't get fired for doing a bad speech in Toastmasters. Like we all make those mistakes, and we all want you to try again when that happens.
The evaluation portion. How do you feel about the evaluation portion of the meeting?
It's invaluable. That's a place I'm wanting to grow as an evaluator. I don't feel like I'm a great evaluator, but I know the value of being able to give feedback, but also being able to receive feedback is important as well. We're not always very good at hearing the good or the bad. We don't handle feedback very well. And in the workplace, we often don't get real feedback. You might get a, oh, good job. Or you might get a, well, that could have been better. Or you don't hear anything at all. But in Toastmasters, you get actionable, real, positive, and I won't say negative, but constructive, helpful feedback on how to do better next time.
Good word. Constructive. Yes, that's it. To help you, challenges to help you to grow.
Yes.
I know when I first started Toastmasters, I had no problem with public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I had was my first several presentations, I tried to give a 45-minute presentation in 5 to 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what this meant was I never took a breath. My audience, they were exhausted. They had no idea what I was even talking about because they couldn't take it all in. Worked with me, the mentors, the leaders, and the guidance that we can get from the various different people, not just one person, but several people, feeding in and saying, let's work on this area, try this a little bit constructively, not, man, that was terrible. I don't know, girl, get out of, nobody told me to get out of here. And there was just so much and so many people feeding into me and saying, you've got this, but let's tweak it a little bit. That's
asked me,
one of my favorite things.
Somebody asked me recently, do you have coaches in Toastmasters? And I said, well, we kind of all coach each other. We're all at different places, but we all have ways that we can speak into our other members and to help them to do better on their next speech. So we're all coaching each other, which is, it feels really good.
And you can have an individual mentor per se for yourself, but that doesn't mean that everybody else isn't going to help.
Exactly.
Because everybody does. That makes it very personal for me, very enjoyable for me. I learned a lot. What would you say is your biggest celebration in Toastmasters?
In Toastmasters, I think I would have to say one of the speeches I gave. It was just a random speech for one of my projects, but I practiced it a lot and I had it memorized and it was funny and it just felt so good to present that speech, and my jokes landed, and it wasn't an award, it wasn't anything special, it was just something that I felt so proud of, and it was received really well by my club.
That is wonderful. And that's the thing, it's that personal celebration. Everybody else doesn't have to say anything about it. There's that personal celebration of, hey, I did good. I've come a long ways. How did that presentation go that you did the following March after you started and you had to go to work and give that one that you got out of the first time?
It went really well. I was scared because, I was still pretty new to this thing, but I had a PowerPoint with a clicker and I had my notes. So I was definitely still green, but I walked up there. I felt confident, even though I was nervous. I felt confident that I knew what I was doing and I'd done it before. I took this presentation and I gave it at my Toastmasters club 2 weeks before I had to give it for real. And they gave me feedback, they asked questions, and made me feel so much more prepared than if I had just practiced it in my bedroom a few times before. And it was a resounding success. And probably one of the better presenters. There were probably a dozen, and I wished I could just bring them all to Toastmasters.
I love it. I love it.
It's a skill that you don't always have opportunity to develop unless you're doing it as a career, or if you come to Toastmasters.
And you pointed out something. One thing is, yes, you're a member of Toastmasters. You've got a business presentation coming up. This is the perfect place to practice.
Absolutely. Our club does that all the time. We have several people that have to present for work. And we, even if it's a longer presentation than a normal speech, we make room for that in the meeting, and they get feedback and go on to do the real thing with the benefit of our club behind them.
How wonderful. In closing, if there was one thing that you wanted to say, just this is your last chance. You get to tell somebody about Toastmasters. What would it be?
I think I would just want people to know that Toastmasters has so much to offer, and you really need to come to a meeting to even scratch the surface of what's available. Don't assume that you know what to expect, because it's not just giving speeches. There's so much to it. There's camaraderie. You asked earlier why I stay in Toastmasters. One of the reasons is just I really enjoy these people that I meet with every week, and then the people that I meet in our district leadership. I just enjoy it. It's a great place to get to know people, to network, and to develop yourself personally and professionally.
Well, I don't know. I can't think of any better way to close. I don't think I could have said that any differently or any better. I want to thank you so much, Kirra, for joining me.
Thank you.
I got to find the right buttons on. You can learn more about Toastmasters by going to toastmasters.org. Search for a club near you. Many clubs now are virtual. It's real easy to attend clubs all around the world. So be sure to check it out. And I'd like to personally invite you to check out my local club, 392.toastmastersclubs.org. And you're welcome to visit us. Find out what this Toastmasters thing is all about. Thank you, Kirra. Thank you for everyone for watching. And I can't wait to share my next Toastmasters friend with you.